All right, welcome to Altitude After Dark with your guys, DMac and Vic Lombardi. Coach Mike Sanford will be here in a second. Broncos just destroyed the Saints 33-10. While we wait for Coach to get on here, Vic, why don't you give me some quick thoughts? Oh, there's Coacher. Coach is right there, my man. All right.
What's up, fellas?
Give me some quick thoughts there, Vic.
Well, if I told you that Cortland Sutton would play an entire game and not get targeted once, not a catch, not a single target to number 14, you would think what? You'd think, oh,
I wouldn't
rough
believe
night
it.
at the office for the Broncos.
Right.
Rough night at the office for the Broncos. And yet they give us probably their best complete game that we've seen in years in terms of demolition. I mean, that was a complete demolition. It wasn't a game. It was a Broncos team that just, from a team perspective, from whatever's left of the roster for the Saints, and that quarterback, Coach, I don't know how you go back to Rattler after Hayner came in and moved the ball. I mean, Rattler's terrible. I don't know what else to say. He's terrible.
I've had a label on Spencer Rattler for about 6 years, and he's a coach killer because he's a beautiful thrower of the football. He looks awesome in a combine setting. He throws the ball brilliantly. And he damn near got Lincoln Riley fired, and Lincoln Riley got smart, brought in Caleb Williams. Yeah, you can go ahead and pound salt there, Spencer Rattler. And then Shane Beamer at South Carolina had a bunch of success till he brings in one of the highest paid NIL guys, starts him, and he almost lost his job a year ago. Guy's a coach killer. Jake Hayner's a much better football player. The Saints guys are just such a wreck. I feel like the Broncos now have played two teams that were dysfunctional, highly dysfunctional, and it's played out, and that's the Jets and the Raiders, who ironically are involved in a dysfunctional trade of the talents of Devontae Adams. And then they played an incredibly injury-riddled Raiders team and an incredibly injury-riddled team tonight in the Saints. And as a result, they've taken care of business and done what they've needed to do, and that's a great thing. It needs to be celebrated.
We're going to get into your comments and break this game down here on Altitude After Dark. We thank our sponsor. In times of financial uncertainty, how can you stay on track? Call someone who's invested in your success. Beau Smith, your Colorado Edward Jones financial advisor, can help you. He'll work to build a complete picture of your financial life, including your unique goals and passions, so he can help you achieve what's most important to you. Call Beau at 303-758-8500 to schedule an appointment today, or visit edwardjones.com/Beau-Smith. That's BEAU-Smith. Edward Jones, member SIPC. We'll just get right to what everybody's talking about. Vic, let's get to it. What'd you think of Bo Nix?
Well, I find it curious that Beau spells his name differently than Bo Nix. BEAU to BO.
No X for either one of them.
Yeah. My thoughts on Bo Nix haven't really changed after that game, to be honest with you. I'm still sort of like, okay, that was good. That was fine. They ran the ball for 227 yards and passed for 164. I mean, that opening drive where he threw the ball between two wide open receivers. He had one drive that was a certain pick that was dropped by Matthew. I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but it was ho-hum, I guess. Coach, did you see anything I didn't?
Well, the only thing I did love is I've been pandering, at least on the airways, for Sean Payton to lean into some quarterback designed runs, not drop back and Beau scrambles around, looks frantic, and then takes off and runs. The big time, was it a third down conversion or fourth down conversion where they called it was a quarterback pin and pull designed run, and Beau went around the left sideline. That was beautiful. I actually love that Sean Payton in the first two drives called a zone read out of pistol, and Bo Nix kept it, and he had Burton as his lead blocker. Stuff that I've been asking to see, because I think that he's one of those players that if you can get him into rhythm and get a couple hits with him, I think he's a physical guy that likes getting involved in the physicality of football before he starts throwing it. But man, the pocket presence stuff didn't take any form of a step forward from this past Sunday. I mean, they really practiced one day. So I can understand that, but the pocket presence has regressed since training camp, since preseason football. Is it concerning? I don't know. I think it can be fixed. I do.
Right. That's the question. Is it correctable or not? Like, here's what was great. The play calling from Sean Payton was extraordinary. Okay. Listen, he's missing passes, and he did miss passes. All right. He did. But they were there. Yeah. They were there. So, like, okay. At least they were the right plays, right?
Yeah. This is one of those instances. You can't say, well, the receivers aren't getting open. They were open.
They were open.
Play call was a good play call. It was a good selection.
And by the way, Mims had a drop he should have caught.
Yes.
The ball hit little Jordan Humphrey in the chest, fellas, in the end zone. It did, okay?
Are you talking about are you talking about the 50-50 throw on the right side?
Yes.
The DB's playing the football, DMac.
That was under DMac. That was misleading.
That's misleading the information.
Yeah, DMac, that was
50-50 throw.
That ball was underthrown. Jordan Humphrey had at least 2 feet on he should have threw the ball deeper. That was an underthrown football.
Hit him in the chest. Point of ball, square in chest. Okay. All right.
Well, that paints the picture that he was wide open and the ball bounced off his chest, which was not the case. It was a 50-50. Defensive backs playing the football. That the odds of completing those are exactly that. They're typically 50-50.
Hey. DMac is painting the same picture that hit Matthew in the chest. Like, yep, hit Jordan Humphrey in the chest, just like it hit Matthew in the chest. Same thing. Same deal.
Cody Barton got one drilled between the 5 and the 5. I mean, I'm not going to rip on Cody Barton. The guy had a great game, but I mean, he had one that he could have picked off too, but redeemed himself. And it was painful there because DJ Jones jumped and then he had nothing to do with the play, and it's a scoop and score. And you're like, that sort of deal. But it didn't matter, man. I mean, I know Beau. Listen, I know what this week is going to be. It's going to be crapping on Beau because
it should be. It shouldn't be.
Well, it's going to be.
It should be.
You know what my takeaway is? Here's my takeaway. All right, yeah, we all know that the Saints are in a world of hurt. We get it. But Sean Payton has managed to change the culture of this football team. Those guys play hard for him. They do on both sides of the ball. Now, the offense may still look wonky. The offense may not, buzz, but both offense and defense, even special teams, those dudes are running hard. They're playing hard, and they're playing for their head coach. Whatever message he is delivering in the locker room is working. This team is 4-3.
Yep.
And I don't know many people that had him at 4-3 at this point.
No, I mean, Vegas sure as hell didn't, right? Vegas had them at 5.5, and they're pretty dang good at it. It revolves around their bank accounts. I mean, those casinos, DMac and Vic, I think about just how this 4-3 has come to fruition. And I had this thought as the game was winding down, kind of like a power ranking of the franchise MVP to get to this spot of being 4-3. Number 1 is Vance Joseph. We've talked about that a ton. He's done an amazing job. This defense is good against everybody they play against. They are good. They make you earn everything that you get. They are playing so hard. Look at the difference between how hard they played, this Broncos defense, versus how incredibly lack of effort there was on the field for the Saints. Right, it was insane. Right. Guys, this is the National Football League. These guys are fighting for their careers. They're fighting for their next contracts. It was as bad as you can imagine. Number 2, George Payton, fellas. George Payton. He has been absolutely going to work in building this roster. So many of these players that everybody's like, who are these guys? We know who Cody Barton is now, don't we? We know who Riley Moss is now. We know Zach Allen. And I know that was a bit VJ bringing him from his last coaching stop. And then number 3 is one that we haven't talked about, I don't think at all on the airwaves. Zach Strief to take an offensive line. You lose your starting center. You get to your 3rd right tackle. And Glynchy's back today. They have not skipped a beat in the offensive line. He has done such a good job of developing the confidence of that group. Zach Strief is in my MVP, top 3 of the Broncos franchise. I've been really impressed.
Javonte Williams looked spry tonight. 14 carries, 88 yards. For once, Bo Nix is not the leading rusher on the team because I think almost every game he has been. But tonight, Javonte ran with purpose. He looked fast. He looked athletic. The run game was dominant. I mean, again, 227 yards. They averaged just under, as a team, 7 yards a carry. Are you kidding me? 7 yards a carry? You're going to win a lot of games with those numbers.
You have a top 5 defense, which they clearly do, if Zach Strief is great, the offensive line is better, and you can run the ball, which they did tonight, How good does a quarterback have to be? I mean, what's the most important thing he has to do?
DMac, you were playing Spencer Rattler. You had zero. I mean, there was no worry on that side of the ball. The game wasn't a threat. If you're playing Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen,
Justin Herbert, we just did that 4 days ago.
You just saw if the other side of the ball is pressuring you and forcing you to keep pace, we have a problem. There was no issue keeping pace tonight. There was no pace.
Let me point something out just really quick. You were down 23-0 to the Chargers. Why didn't that game against the Chargers look like this one? Why didn't that game go like this one? Because everybody wants to crap all over Bo Nix. Oh, that didn't mean anything, blah, 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 blah. Came down to an onside kick, didn't it, fellas? Did. You know, I mean, he doesn't get any credit for that.
Yeah, of course. Nobody's crapping on him. This is not a crap fest. He obviously does great things in certain situations. I agree with Coach. He needs some time to get the engine warmed up. And I like when he runs the ball. He got the engine going. But that first drive, that was
bad. That was bad. That was bad.
Bad's not. That was disastrous.
Oh, he didn't throw an interception. Disastrous would have been a pick six or a turnover or something. It's just 3 incompletions and a punt. It wasn't disastrous. It was bad. Come on.
Well, but DMac, you asked the question, if this defense is really good, which I'm going to add that if the defense continues to do what it does, you're not going to be able to afford to keep this defense intact. And you're probably not going to keep your defensive coordinator for next season, right? That's a real thought. But if that's the case that you play, is that somebody? Oh yeah, sorry, my phone was buzzing. If you're playing this good a defense and you're running the football, DMac, you, Vic, me, everybody, at least at altitude, said, what's the point of this year? To develop your quarterback. And are you developing him if you're playing an elite run defense and running the football? I don't know.
Vic?
It still feels like he's playing with training wheels. It still feels like the training wheels are on. And that's not to take away from his skills. I just think that's the case. If you're asking me, am I going to, my takeaway from this game, Bo Nix has arrived. That's how I felt after the Tampa game.
Okay.
That's the one game this season where I said, holy crap, holy shit, this kid can ball. We saw it. They gave him some play calls where he utilized his skill set, and that was not this game. It just wasn't. This game was won because your team was just much better. They played harder.
All right, I'm looking at some of these comments. They're great. I bet Vic was a Joe Williams fan back in the day. I don't think
Joe Williams had this running gag that he always ripped on Elway, and everybody knew it was a gag. Are you trying to compare John Elway to Bo Nix? If whoever said that is trying to compare John Elway to Bo Nix,
there you go.
Take the blindfolds off right now.
All right, let's have some fun with it. What will Mosier say to you tomorrow morning, Vic?
Oh, Mosher's probably going to be extra critical of Beau because he always has been, and I'm going to have to defend Beau because if anything, I'm a neutral party in this. I really accept the development program. I do. Okay. But I'm also going to speak honestly about what I saw. I didn't see anything that made me go, okay, got to step. I didn't see that tonight. I saw him take care of the ball. I saw him use his legs. I saw him use his wheels, and that's great. But he made one throw that I thought was pretty damn impressive. The 22-yarder to Lucas Kroll over the middle of the field. It's a good throw. That's a really good throw. The one on the money to Mims that he dropped, good throw. Great throw. After that, you tell me. D-Mac, you tell me where. Point it to me.
I can't because it wasn't a laser show.
He didn't have anything else.
I got it. It wasn't a laser show. And but there were no turnovers. I don't think they gave up any sacks either, did they? I don't think so, right?
Didn't feel like it. I mean, he's almost impossible to sack now.
No sacks. And listen, I know Josh Allen, when he was trying to find himself as a rookie, ran a lot in Buffalo. And I'm not even comparing him to Josh Allen.
Vic, are you frozen on DMac?
Yeah. Look at his face. What do you think he's thinking right now? Look at that face. What do you think's going through his mind?
He's processing the reaction when Bo Nix was drafted. And, how is this going to end up playing out in the big picture?
Yeah. They just took his internet from him because the internet company called and they said, hey, DMac, we're tired of all the bullshit. Let people watch with their eyes. Quit trying to lie to them. I mean, it's too much bullshit.
Do you think that DMac has reached his capacity of live streams and the worldwide
That's
interweb
a very good
just
point.
shut him down. They're like, you cannot have one more live stream podcast.
I think this is his 8th podcast of the day. He did the entire game live. I think you're right. At some point, the internet said, dude, we got this guy in Denver who's using all of our internet. We don't have any left.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg got together and they said, we got to save some for us. We're running the world right now.
I'm back.
Oh, you're going to want to go back and watch that. That was pretty good.
Go ahead, refresh it.
No, it's all right, man. You just go back and watch it. The viewers don't need to see it twice,
Okay. All right.
I accused you of being shut down because you've done too many live stream podcasts, and the internet company said no more bandwidth.
Honest to God, D-Mac, how many hours in front of the podcast today have been spent by you? By you? I mean, I'm just curious. Is your wife sitting in the back going, "Do I even have a husband anymore?" How many hours? Today was a day. I'm not gonna lie. Today was a day. Like when I went to bed last night, it was like, okay, this will be interesting. And,
awesome.
Uh,
And
thus it has been. So I apologize for the technical difficulties. Thank you everybody for hanging in there. Sorry about that. So continuing our conversation, the best takeaway from today was what? Coach, start with you. Best takeaway from today.
The Broncos need to move to the NFC South.
Well,
my takeaway is pretty simple.
Well, they get to play the Falcons.
That's what I'm saying.
My takeaway is really simple.
And the
Denver
Panthers.
Broncos did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went to a place where a team was injured, where half the roster was hurt, where the starting quarterback was terrible, and they waxed them in their yard. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. And you know what? I give them full credit because a lot of times in the National Football League, teams don't do what they're supposed to do. And the Broncos did tonight.
I think my favorite takeaway was Sean Payton's system is really working, meaning that even though Beau did not have a laser show, it was there. What he needed to do to prepare the team was really effective. They talked a lot about recovery in terms of what they needed to do to get ready for this. So whatever they were doing, a couple of Sean Payton's things have really worked. The Greenbrier, hey, man, it worked. What can I tell you? The recovery or whatever they were doing on this short week, it worked. It was the offense play calling. Anybody who's bitching about running the ball, shut up, right? I mean, shut up. You can't have that. That worked. I mean, how dialed in, I'll start with you, Coach, on this. How dialed in is Sean Payton to what he really wants to do with this team right now?
I think very dialed in. And I was curious, and I brought it up this morning on Dempsey and Company. Is Sean Payton going to go out there and try to throw for 450? Or is he going to do the best thing for his quarterback, the best thing for his team, knowing that the Saints aren't going to be able to score points, lean into a ground game with the worst tackling team in the NFL that you're going up against? And he did exactly that. And it was smart. It was brilliant. When you say Sean Payton's system is working, I think the caveat on that needs to be the totality of him as the head coach of the whole team. Because I do think just 4 days ago, we wouldn't be saying that the system offensively solely was working. And I think that is going to be a week by week type of evaluation.
Coach, you're onto something. I think Payton coached his team smartly tonight. Like some coaches might try some stuff and, hey, let's really show off on Thursday Night Football. He didn't get crazy. He won the game. That's first and foremost. Won the game and did it in punishing style. And there's nothing to apologize. No Bronco fan should apologize the way they won tonight. That was a dominating win. Again, how many of those have you gotten in the last 8 years? How many? I count them on one hand.
Drew Lock kicked the shit out of the Texans.
Tampa Bay this year. Tampa Bay was a dominating win.
Tampa Bay, you got that game.
Raiders.
Arizona, remember that one?
Game in Dallas. Remember the game in Dallas?
Dallas game, which was so weird. Like that felt out of. I mean, there's been a few, not many though. If that's your point, not many. If you're not happy about tonight, you probably hate Christmas. I don't know. You're probably just that sort of person.
Happy is a relative term. I mean, we're all happy. I mean, nobody had the Broncos 4-3, and if you did, Man, that's a hell of a bet. You're going to win some money. The fact they're 4-3 is, and they should be 5-3 after the next one. I mean, they've got 10 days now to prepare for Carolina. What a wonderful gap in the schedule. This is awesome. And it's exactly what the doctor ordered. A couple of these kind of games before the schedule gets rough. And it's going to get rough because you're going to see opposing quarterbacks who can now say, great, you have a great defense, but I'm going to start picking you apart. That wasn't that quarterback tonight. That quarterback was a statue. I don't know what to say. That was some of the worst quarterback play I've seen since the Broncos lost to New Orleans during COVID.
Yeah, it was absolutely abysmal. DMac, I know you were doing a live stream during the game, correct? It was a watch party, watch along. Sorry, Vic, did you see the halftime show at all? Of the Amazon Prime telecast?
I was watching the Nuggets. I was watching the end of the Nuggets game,
which was pretty good. Apparently, it sounded like there was some.
It got weird, and then it got great at the end of the game. Julian Strawler. Okay.
So at halftime, Richard Sherman, a guy that I was around at Stanford, he flat out called out the Saints, and this was interesting. He said the way that they're playing. He's a guy who's played a lot of football, a lot of defensive football. He said the way they're playing, it's strictly from an effort standpoint. It looks like a team is trying to get their head coach fired. He said that, which on the air. And I don't think that is out of line because of how bad it looked. Guys, like the Javonte Williams rushing touchdown from the 12-yard line, like that doesn't happen in the National Football League. That kind of stuff happens maybe in 2A high school football, like to have nobody in a gap. Walk-in touchdowns do not happen.
Let me make this very easy for you guys. Do you think we see the same outcome, 33-10, if Derek Carr is healthy and he plays tonight, even with the receivers he had to work with? Do you think 33-10 is your score?
I think it's probably 33-17. Something like that. I think I think this Broncos defense is pretty good. Really good.
I don't think you would have had the turnovers that led to the 33.
I mean, they started getting their ass kicked. Right? They started getting their ass kicked with Derek Carr in there, Vic. This is their 5th loss in a row. Spencer Rattler's been around for the last 2 games.
It's amazing how quickly the NFL can change after 2 weeks of the NFL season. Derek Carr, the Saints, Clint Kubiak, that offense, the toast of the National Football League, right?
2 weeks.
And since then, it's a complete shit show since then.
What I always say to young coaches when things like these come up, and I look at them and say, so you want to be a ball coach. This is the life that you chose, right? You're the hottest guy 1 week and you're fired the next week.
Okay, so a little bit of now what for the Broncos. And listen, I think here's what's going to happen this week. People are going to say Saints suck, which they do. Defense is terrible, which they are. Spencer Rattler sucks, which he does. And the Broncos just did what they should have done against a bad team. Okay. All right, Vic. Cool. Good. So this is where we are with the Broncos. They beat bad teams now. That's right. That's great.
That's a positive. Hey, beautiful. Hey, that's a positive because usually, we were living in a world where the Broncos were that team. Were that team, right? So they're not that team. Again, Sean Payton deserves credit for changing the culture of this program. They play hard. They're 4-3. Only one of those losses was one that got away from them. And even then they came back. That was the Chargers loss. Every other game, they were in it. So they're 4-3. They're playing hard. The defense is rejuvenated. They got the quarterback on training wheels, but you could see some progress at times. There's nothing to bitch about. There's nothing to moan about. I'm not going to be a bitcher or a moaner. You're asking for my honest assessment. You asked me at the start of this whole thing, what'd you think about Beau?
Yeah.
I think the same thing of Beau today, right now at this hour, as I did before this game kicked off. Nothing's changed. I haven't seen him play the way he did against Tampa. That was a special game. He hasn't had that special game since.
Coach?
Yeah, I think that this is major progress for the Broncos as an organization. I think you've talked about it, DMac, often about just the Penner, from a ownership standpoint. This is phenomenal, and it's trickling down. There is.
By the way, real quick, how about when they put up the rendering of what the facility is going to look like?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's incredible. But this is a great ownership group, and they have entrusted Sean Payton. And I've had this sneaking suspicion in the offseason that a lot of what I thought a year ago that Sean Payton, George Payton wasn't a great fit. I think it is a great fit. I think Sean Payton goes out and does the quarterback, the top of the draft, and then I think he lets George Payton go be an expert college scout and get good free agents in the market. That's exactly what this Broncos team has done, and that's why this defense is playing phenomenal football. One thing I will say is that throughout the course of the remainder of this year, it's almost like having Shedeur Sanders, but it's like the Broncos defense. If you got the Broncos defense, you got a chance. You got Shedeur Sanders, you got a chance. And I feel that way going forward for the rest of the year.
All right, we'll get to some of your comments and more. We thank our sponsor. Your 401k is likely one of your most important financial plans, but it's only part of a comprehensive financial strategy. Edward Jones can help you understand how your retirement assets fit into your entire retirement picture so you can work toward meeting your unique retirement goals. Contact Beau Smith, your Colorado Edward Jones financial advisor at 303-758-8500 or visit edwardjones.com/Beau-Smith. That's BEAU-Smith. Edward Jones, member SIPC. When the Broncos take on the Panthers, Vic, should we expect more of the same now? And after that, I'm going to sort of assume we're going there. What do you think now about the Ravens, about the Chiefs, about the Falcons? You know, those type of teams that are also kind of coming up after the trade deadline. We'll get to that in a second, too.
I think the Broncos are capable of beating anybody. The Raiders went to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. Remember that? The Raiders did. So the Broncos can. But those are the games that are my measuring stick games. Now, it would be 2 steps forward, 2 steps back if you lose to Carolina at home in 10 days. You just can't lose that game if you want to continue to build on this, right? So are you asking me, should they beat Carolina? You're damn right they should beat Carolina. You're damn right. That is the easiest remaining game on the slate, that Carolina game. I mean, look at the rest of the schedule. That is the easiest remaining game moving forward on the slate. So after that, things get hairy. Let's see what happens after that before we talk about it.
Coach?
Yeah, I think that the Panthers, the current iteration of the Saints is worse than the Panthers.
Agreed.
The current iteration.
Yes.
I also think that Bo Nix needs to play a good home game. I mean, the Raiders was a good home game. I didn't like what I saw last week against the Chargers. I didn't like what I saw against the Steelers. This is a great opportunity for him in front of the home crowd to start fast and put it together. But I do think the Panthers are in a better spot, strangely, currently than the Saints are right now.
Guys,
and then going to the that stretch of football, the defense gives you a shot, like Vic said. I completely agree. Beau's gonna be tested in that 3-week stretch, especially against Spags defense, and even maybe more against the Ravens defense. 100%. He will be tested.
And not just tested by defenses, tested by the score, because the opposing offense is going to score. They're going to score, and it's going to put pressure on your offense to counter. Tonight, there was no pressure. Did you ever feel pressure in this game? Outside of the first quarter, there was no pressure. No. So an offense lives freely, moves freely. They're running the ball right down their throats. It's a lot easier when that's the case. When you know that witch, Mahomes, is on the other side, you better score, and not just field goals. You better get in the end zone.
All right, guys. The trade deadline then is 1 game away. And there's been a lot of moves, obviously, but it's 1 game away. Would you be buyers, sellers, or would you just stand pat?
I'd stand pat. I like the chemistry and the culture that Vic was talking about, this culture that Sean Payton's building. You can upset the apple cart pretty quickly. I think the development of Bo Nix with this group of receivers, seeing more Troy Franklin, seeing more Devon Vele they're fellow rookies with Bo. And I think he looks comfortable and is going to grow with those guys. And then defensively, you don't mess with anything. Don't bring anything in. Yeah. You could say maybe bring in a tight end. Yeah. I just don't think they grow on trees. Though, right? Yeah, exactly. They're not.
I don't know. Let's see who the Patriots have on an expiring contract. Let's see who the Rams have. Let's see who some of these dog butt teams have that, they need to rebuild in other directions. I'm buying, man. I'm freaking buying, and I'm buying a tight end. Tight end.
I don't know. There were times tonight I thought Lucas Kroll was the next Mark Bavaro, man. I mean,
he looked good. He looked good. I totally agree. Cecil Lammey was onto something at the MVP of the offseason, Lucas Kroll.
All right. So that's it. Okay, fine. So if Lucas Krull is better than anybody else that I mentioned there, then fine. We're good. But Dulcich, I mean, why is this dude even on the team at this point, right? He's just, forget it. He's just done. So, I don't know, man. I mean, you got Amari Cooper went to the Bills, right? Like, I don't know. What else is out there, guys? There's got to be other things out there. No, nothing.
Well, I mean,
come up with it. I don't know.
I think one of the reasons why Dulcich goes to the bench is he's the kind of tight end that is going to get downfield. And that's not what this offense is. That's not what Beau is. It's not designed for Beau to throw to Dulcich down the seam. It's just not. Occasionally, you saw Kroll catch one over the seam. It was great, but that's not what he's here for. So I don't know why he's even on the squad, because those talents are not going to be utilized. Not on this squad.
All right, let me give you one last one then, okay? Because, Vic, you got involved with one of the most insane arguments of all time with Mark Mosier. It was fun, though. And that's like, what was it? Play Zach Wilson? Was that it?
Yeah, he wants to see Zach Wilson. Yeah.
Okay. You and Gator were a riot, man. It's just like.
That was one of those days I think he had too many Diet Coke. I think he drank his 5th straight Diet Coke that morning.
Could you imagine all of his organs, the state of his organs?
He drains Diet Cokes like John Daly. He's like that? I didn't know that.
If you saw his morning diet, you wonder how he's still alive, to be honest with you. I love you. Right now, he's not. I don't know if he usually watches this, but he had to go to his wife's art exhibit tonight.
She had another art exhibit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mosier's a good set. He's a good husband, man.
Did you ever see the fine art that his wife painted?
I went. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, man. Gosh.
Oh, my God.
Are you trying to jinx the Broncos before the Panthers game, too, man? Are we trying to get.
I've been showing that off for a couple of weeks, and the Broncos have done well. No problem.
She's done better. The Zach Wilson thing, listen, you'd say I would acquire something, but here's what I would try to do. I would try to shop Zach Wilson to anybody for basically anything.
Saints?
Like, sure. Why wouldn't they? Seriously. I mean, you know what? If you're looking at Sam Darnold in Minnesota and you're the Saints, you wouldn't give up a 5th round pick for Zach Wilson. I mean, you took Spencer Rattler with a 5th round pick. Seriously. Yeah. That's a good point.
The difference, though, is it appears like Derek Carr is going to be available. He's coming back. So Derek Carr's good. He's a good quarterback.
Derek Carr has some wear on the tread, dude.
No, you're exactly right.
Zach Wilson's 24.
Miami is still an option. Miami is still
an
option.
Yeah. That's out there. That's the team. That is the team, because you could probably acquire something, because Mike McDaniel does not want to keep looking like this. Like, he does not want to. It is so bad. And they've put themselves in a very tough spot.
We'll cut this loose because Vic's got to. I mean, I don't know what time you usually go to bed, but this is a late one for you, pal.
Well, don't put this on me. You want to go because this is your 17th consecutive hour of live streaming. So, I get it, dude.
I got my pod in Tokyo that I'm doing. I'm gonna break down Shohei's 3 walks and dinger for a small little station in a pond. Anyway,
Vic, I'm gonna beat Vic up tomorrow. I'm 3:45 a.m. wake up call.
For what?
9 News, man. Broncos analyst, baby. Let's go.
Oh my beer. Look at that. All right.
That ought to be a huge audience at 5 a.m.
Well, I go until 7:30. It's from 5. It's every 5 o'clock news, 5:30 news, 6 o'clock news, 7 o'clock news.
Vic, they do 4 stories 13 times. It's just, Mike's there.
Sounds like sports talk radio.
Yes.
Last one, quick one. Do you feel bad for Fireman Ed, who's being phased out of the Jets Jumbotron?
No.
What do you mean he's being phased out?
Oh, you don't know the story?
No.
You know Fireman Ed. So wait, do you not know Fireman Ed?
Yeah, I know. I see that guy at all the Jets games. Yeah.
Okay. They're not going to him as often as they used to, and he's complaining about it. It was, believe it or not, a front page story on ESPN.com that Fireman Ed was complaining about being phased out by the Jumbotron people there in New York.
He's not getting enough airtime.
according to Fireman Ed, he's not getting on the Jumbotron at critical moments when the crowd really needs him.
I don't know how. I don't know the relationship between Jets Kingdom and Fireman Ed, if he's a crucial component for the games, and I don't know how that works, but that's a new one to me. Is he going to sue him? What does he have planned?
I have no idea what Fireman Ed's going to do, but he's bitching about. Here's what I think: super fans get their heads filled that they mean something. These are multi-billion-dollar organizations. They really don't give a shit about Fireman Ed or the guy who dresses up. And you know what? Frankly, in all honesty, super fans creep me out. They do.
Yeah, it's different. So it's different. It's a different world.
It's like, you're kind of ruining the fun for me just being a fan because you're a super fan. Like, you're making me awkward and uncomfortable. So that's just
they are caricatures.
And by the way, Vic,
can I have one last thing real quick? Right?
Vic,
I really want to hear your opinion on this.
The guy that dresses up like the Joker at the games, he can kick pound sand.
Freaks me out a little bit too, to be honest with you.
Right? All right, last one there, Coach. Go ahead.
4-3, playing the Panthers.
Yeah.
All things should point towards 5-3.
Yeah.
Draft capital, go for the playoffs, or get stuck in between. Where are you guys at on that in terms of what you'd want to see from the Broncos?
Oh, you got to go for the playoffs.
I think you got to go for the playoffs. You got to live in the now. The NFL is a live in the now league. Yeah. It's not. Yeah, the NBA does that. The NBA is living the what can we get down the line. That's not this league. This league, too many things can happen. Yeah. All you have to do is lose your quarterback, and things change drastically. We have witnessed that.
Yeah, you haven't gone to the playoffs since 2015, Coach. You haven't had a winning season since 2016. You gotta go for it if you can.
It's 7-10 or 8-9, like the drizzling shits.
Not this year because you got your quarterback and you could reasonably say you kind of overachieved. It's the drizzling shits with Russell Wilson because you're supposed to win Super Bowls for what you gave up. You didn't give up anything for Beau Nix. You didn't even trade up for Beau Nix. You were just smart about it. So no, it's different. It's much different. Next year, you got to be in the playoffs. Vic, I don't know if you agree with me on that, but next year you got to be in the playoffs. And 2 years from now, when that incredible building is built, and likely, I'm going to guess, we'll hear news about a brand new stadium 2 years from now, you got to be competing for a championship game. I think you got to be like the Lions. You got to follow that trajectory, or it's a little disappointing. Vic?
Well, of course, it's been 8 years of misery, and the arrow is pointing up. Again, they're playing competitive football. They just blew out a team on the road. They blew out a team called Tampa Bay on the road. Look at what the Broncos have done on the road. Their 2 losses at home, one to Pittsburgh and one to the Chargers. The Chargers one was miserable. But man, did you ever imagine that this team would be this good this early on the road? I'm impressed.
So worst case scenario, you're 7-10, 8-9. That's worst case scenario, I think. That's based off of where if the Broncos should be at 5-3, in my opinion. You're probably going to get worst case scenario, and you will be in perfect position to draft from Boise State, Ashton Jeanty.
Not against it. Can he catch the ball?
Oh, gosh, can he?
Okay, can he block?
Oh, boy, can he. And he's a perfect human being, too.
Let's go.
He's an incredible young man.
Fine. So he's a Christian McCaffrey sort of guy?
Yep, but thicker.
Okay.
Runs through things.
Great.
Top end speed. Like this guy's different, guys.
Another little minor one. Audrey Guessame fumbling was a bad moment tonight for him.
Bad.
For him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yep.
He's got fumbleitis. Fumble. It's securing that ball as he's falling. He's got to learn in the National Football League. These guys are master thieves. They will do everything they can. When you're out of sorts and you're stumbling, that's when they go poke and prod. He's got to learn, man. That thing is valuable. That's a piece of gold.
Vic, did he have that issue at Notre Dame at all?
No.
All right.
Wasn't an issue there. It's a different game. It just is. Again, these guys are taught to take that thing. They're going to take it from you. They want it.
All right, boys.
They got it happen in a 23-point win. That's all I can say, because otherwise he would be out.
I have a podcast on the Bering Strait that I'm a little bit late for, so I got to hop to that one. We're going to talk Alaskan high school football. There's a game starting because it's daylight there. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Vic, you're on in the morning. I guess Mike Sanford is going to beat you, Vic, because that's just who he is.
All right, Mike, I'll get up with you at 3:45 a.m. and catch that big show.
What are those? I'm sorry. What do they say to you? Like, hey, great game, or what do you think? I mean, is it like that?
I produce it. I mean, so I end up
produce it.
Well, I send all the questions in the clips, so I'll be doing that for the next 45 minutes.
Wait, Jesus. What?
Yeah.
Who are you on with? Wait, who are you on with?
Yeah, Corey Rose, Erica Lopez, Jordan Chavez. I mean, guys.
Well, you got a good crew at least. You can
hang
out with a crew. Yeah.
The best of the best.
All right, we'll see you. Those are the pretty people. Holy cow. All right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching Altitude After Dark. See you guys. Bye.